Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, professor of physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're talking about the week of November 13th, 2023 this time around. It's the week of Leonid meteor shower. We'll talk about it briefly here. We don't always talk about these things that everybody else is talking about because you can see everybody else talking about them. But we've gotten in the habit of it more lately. Remember that meteor showers occur each year when our orbit crosses the orbit of a comet, and the comet has boiled off dust and debris. We intercept that debris, and we see meteors coming from the same part of the sky. So we'll see trails of meteors that look like this, like they could be way out here even, but they all look like they trace back to that same point in the sky. So that's what we look at. That's called the radiant, the point in the sky where the meteors appear to have traced back to the origin point. That's where the tunnel. You got this tunnel of dust, and that's where we're intercepting that tunnel of dust, and it's hitting our atmosphere. And so that's our interception point right there, where all of this debris coming in and burning up. That radiant this time around is in Leo, so we call this the Leonids each November. You know, the Leonids have a history producing remarkable meteor storms, just big bursts of meteors some years, but most years not that much. And so maybe it's got a good dark sky this year. So we're talking about the morning of the 18th is probably your best bet. You know, if you're out on the 17th in the morning a.m., that's probably okay. You'll see some of these things, maybe even the 19th. But the morning of the 18th is probably your best bet. And to say that, you know, we're talking about 10 or 15 meteors in these showers. And so it's 2 or 3 times maybe what you would see. The total would be 10 or 15 meteors per hour coming from this shower. And you're going to see 10-ish meteors per hour under a good dark sky anyway. So it's going to double to triple the total number of meteors you would see. These other meteors are just random meteors coming in from all directions, hitting our atmosphere. So the Leonids are fine meteors. It's not, not one of the best. Most years like this, you get some meteors appearing above the background, and that's what we'll see this year. Not a whole lot of meteors right there. Now we know, so Leo's been rising in the morning. If you've been watching this series, you know that Venus has spent the entire fall tracking through Leo and is now in Virgo. And so we've been watching Venus as it moves from star to star. And so you're up on the morning of the 17th and the morning of the 18th, before dawn, looking for your Leonid meteors, and you see Venus rising there. This week, we talked about last week, Venus tracking through Virgo now, and it's headed toward Porrima, and this is a pretty bright star. It's the bright star in the base of the cup of the Y of Virgo, right there at the vertex. It's that star, and so Porrima looks like this, right? And Venus is tracking right by there. And in the mornings of the 17th and 18th, it's going to be its closest to that star. So very fine pairing of Venus and the star Porrima in Virgo. So that's what you want to look for right there, is to see this beautiful Venus there, and then see if you can catch a few Leonid meteors, and I think that's great. It's a dark moon, so there's not much moon to interfere with your meteor viewing, but that means there's not much moon to interfere with our other observing either. So let's think about what we could do in the evening sky. In the evening sky, you go out and you look south as it gets dark, and you see big bright Jupiter shining out there, just clearing the horizon in the east. Maybe you've got Taurus with Aldebaran, and you've got other things disappearing over in the west. You've got, you'll walk across to the summer triangle kind of stuff, Vega and Deneb still in the sky, off to the west there. Altair, I think you could probably still see Altair too. You can probably see the entirety of the summer triangle, but hanging down low on the western horizon. As it gets darker, we get into evening. Jupiter's in the constellation Aries. We talked about Aries at least one other time in this series, and Aries isn't a big bright constellation at all. But you see Jupiter. So Jupiter's the brightest object looking south here. If you look about 10 degrees, about a fist width at arm's length to the north and west of Jupiter, the first star you come to that really pops out to you is Sheraton in Aries. And it's a 2.6 magnitude star. I think it's the beta star in Aries. It's the alpha or the beta star. But it's a 2.6 magnitude star in Aries there that you'll see, and not much else. It's about 10 degrees, again, about this fist width at arm's length. And now, if you get your binoculars or your small telescope and you scan this region, you start with binoculars, you find a star that's there's a couple of stars about this brightness along here, but this is one of the brightest stars between the two, is 19 Arietis. is a 5.7 magnitude star. That means that if you got really good eyes and you got a good dark sky, you probably could be able to see this. I don't think I would ever see it without binoculars. But we would see that, and that's about 3 3/4 degrees up from Jupiter. So about a third of the way, maybe up towards Sheraton, you'll see 19 Ariadne. So that's our first goal. We're out, we've seen Venus in the morning. This is the evening sky now. We've seen some Leonid meteors. The other thing we can do this week is we can identify a couple of stars, use Jupiter to identify a couple of stars, one relatively bright, one not so bright, in Aries. And to say, this is what was great, okay? Now, if you split that distance again along this line, you come about 2 1/3 degrees up from Jupiter toward 19 Ariadnes, which is 3 3/4 degrees, so a little closer to 19 Ariadnes, you'll find a galaxy, NGC 877. Not one of the most spectacular galaxies, maybe 12th magnitude, a little bit brighter than 12th magnitude, certainly observable in small telescopes as a little slash of light. So as we want to try to get to understand, remember we think of galaxies as being these hundreds of billions of stars so far away that they look like little faint smudges of light, and this is a great example of just how faint a huge conglomeration of stars can actually appear to be. And so see if you can find NGC 877 in there. Now, I forget the star. It's right next to another star. So you would actually, in your field of view, you would have a faint star, fainter than 19 Ariadnes, but certainly in your telescope, it's going to look like a relatively bright star in the region, right south, just directly below the NGC 877. Now, there are other galaxies along this line here. This is, I think, taking the line from Jupiter to 19 Ariadnes on up to Sheraton. My recollection is this is the brightest galaxy you're going to run across up that line, although there's lots and lots of galaxies in this region of the sky. And so it's an interesting area to just poke around and see if you can see some of these fainter galaxies. There's other NGC galaxies in there in the 800 region like that. I shouldn't even try to guess. But try to remember some of those. But a lot of those are about 13th magnitude or a little bit fainter. They start to get pretty hard to pick out when you're trying to dig these out of the background. This is hard enough to pick out if you got a pretty good sized telescope to do this. But that's your challenge for the week. Learn some stars in Aries, see Venus next to Porrima, see some Leonid meteors, and then your observing challenge for the week is to see if you can find NGC 877. But you want a decent backyard telescope to be able to do that. So that's what we got for you this week. We hope you have a great week. And as always, everyone, thanks for watching.